Torts, I want to ask you just before we get started here, just about the philosophy. A lot of stuff happened early in the week. I don't want to go over that, but what I do want to ask you is, at what point in your coaching career did you learn that treating everybody equally, holding everybody equally accountable for what happens on the ice, off the ice, on the bench, off the bench? At what point did you realize, look, it's got to be that way? There can't be favoritism. Was that as a coach, or was it before that when you were a player?
Well, I think, let's face it, when I was a player, I didn't play at a high level. I mean, you and I both know where I was playing. So um, as a coach, I felt that right away. So it happened when I first started coaching. And I do think no matter what team when you're a player, no matter what league you played in, you always felt that. Even if you were being treated with a little favoritism, you knew that was going on. And if it was the other end, you knew what was going on then. It's not a good feeling. And um, Bob, you know as well as I do, there are certain players you're going to give them some rope in a game as far as just the style of player they are versus another guy. That's all part of coaching. But when it comes down to your effort, your believing in how you treat people, just playing under a team concept, allowing your game to be in it, but knowing you're playing under a team concept and it is a team sport. That's not negotiable, and I think that's very important. Just to keep on building your team, to build your standard, and it's really important and will remain with me all the time.
That's one thing I really do respect about you, because I've been around other coaches, whether it be in this league or other leagues, where, yeah, there were some guys that seemed like they could get away with a lot, and there were other guys that would do the same thing, and all of a sudden they would be a scratch the very next day. And it creates animosity in some ways, doesn't it? Even if it's not player to player, it certainly is player to coach.
Yeah, it's a disease. I think it is, and it permeates through the room. For a coach, it just makes your life harder because you're going to get those questions. Well, he did that. Why did he get away with it, or whatever the circumstance is? I just think it's so important, and it's really not hard to figure out for a player. And this is why I don't have any one-on-one meetings with players. I have meetings with players, a player about a certain play, good play or a bad play or discipline or whatever. Everything's done in front of the team, so everybody knows how it's going to be done, and it really makes it a lot easier as you go through a long year of things popping up. There's going to be discipline problems. There's going to be on ice problems. There's going to be problems generally each and every day because you're dealing with a number of athletes, different type of egos, all the things that go along with it. And I think if it's done in a group setting, when you're attacking that problem, everybody's watching it and they say, well, that's how I'm going to be treated if I'm in that situation. And I think it kind of stems it a little bit. And as we talk about, let's get the problem solved. Let's get on to playing. And there's going to be a next one coming up here sooner or later.
And again, you always talk about going beyond being a teacher of hockey. You're teaching young men. And today you're teaching younger men than ever in the National Hockey League. We've talked about this before. To come in at 18 years old, you used to have the talents of a Sidney Crosby. Now it's not uncommon for a first-round pick to be right in the National Hockey League the very next year. So what you're teaching, not only hockey lessons right now, they're life lessons.
Well, and I've said it to you many times, that's the most interesting part for me, and the honor that I have of being a head coach in this league is that you're teaching people to be good people. And that's one of the things that I am so lucky to be involved in, and I make sure I try to do it the right way. And sometimes we do an injustice to so many young players coming into the league so quickly, and this isn't a criticism; it's just the way it is. They have a little bit of an entourage around them, I think sometimes, or there's just a little bit. The entitlement has come in too quickly in their lives, I think, and in their everyday life, I believe, because they're top-notch athletes. Got to be really careful how we handle that entitlement. And not just in the game of hockey, but just the person that you're going to become. And I think that's a huge role that coaches play in, and I take very seriously is what type of people they're going to be.
It's funny because when I started in baseball, and I saw this right away there because your higher round picks got more money as a signing bonus, and they got treated differently, by the organization. They got pushed up quicker because people had invested in them and all that. But yeah, their attitude was different. And hockey was never that way. Hockey was always everybody that came in was the same, whether he was a second round pick or he was a sixth round pick or just an unsigned free agent. But that has changed. I don't see it nearly to the level that I did in baseball even 20 years ago, but you do see the change as it goes along, don't you?
I think athletes go in cycles, and I've been fortunate enough to be around long enough to watch this, and it's really interesting. And listen, I'll tell you right now, I have some thoughts and some really strong convictions on what today's athlete is. And some of it I don't like as far as what the athlete has become. But we have really good people in our game. We've got really good athletes in the game of hockey. I want to make sure I make that clear to you. But it's our job when you're teaching them the game of hockey, you're also teaching them how to be good people too. And we all need help with that. We all need help with trying to be a better person. And I think that's a huge part of a coaching staff's responsibility.
All right. You were talking about teaching in a group setting. Is there any better lesson for a guy like Patrick Laine, who is sitting on the bench during the third period of that game against Carolina? He's a guy that has not played in your system. He's trying to learn what you're asking, both defensively and offensively. He's got that offensive part figured out, I know, but he's trying to figure out how it works within your system. Is there any better teaching lesson than sitting there and watching your group play what I think may have been your best team period of the year, where you come together, where your stars are laying out the block shots, your fourth line guys are out there grinding and just doing the job that they're supposed to do? That's quite a classroom, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I'll add another subject to it, offensively, defensively, and also off ice teammates, all that stuff that comes with it that we're trying to teach. Yeah. And, on that subject, I don't want to get too deep into it, but, it kind of ran wild after it all went down. Patty didn't play much in the third period, didn't play at all in the third period. It went crazy, but it's really, and we've had the conversation as a team. We've had the conversation with Patty in front of the team, all the things that come with it. And it's really turned into a nice process of a new guy understanding how we expect things, and also listening to him. I learned from Patty also in his thoughts to me after this happened. And that's an important part that early on in my career, I didn't have much time to listen. I need to listen to the athletes. We can ask them to do this, that, the other thing. This is a 22-year-old kid, and we can ask them this or that. We need to listen to them also. And I learned something from him in this process. And I think no one wants to get all the media attention that it got. And again, I say to you, I don't like what they were saying about him at all, about him being a lazy player or he didn't play hard enough. That's not the reason you're benching people. There are so many things that happen, and that's what bothers me the most. But we went through a process together, and I think we're all going to be better. His teammates, him, and the coaching staff in dealing with him.
Well, this is why I like to talk to you about this, and this is why I appreciate you talking to me about this, because yeah, it caught fire, and I'm sure that many people think that I'm a torts apologist because of the position that I take on it. But I listen to you talk like this. I'm fortunate enough that we've had these conversations. We've had other conversations off the air too. So I think if people would just listen sometimes, like you said, take a minute and listen, get the message. There's always a lot more to the situation than you know.
Yeah, and that's what and I get the print writers and all the people around it. They have to write, I guess, and they want, we didn't talk too much about what happened, but I did tell everybody after the game that this was not due to something on the ice. And And a lot of things go on the ice that we're going to have to correct. There's a lot of things that have to go off the ice that we have to correct. It's just part of a group of athletes in an emotional atmosphere that happen. It happens. But that's what bugs me when they say they started talking to him about that he didn't play hard enough, and Tortorella is going to bench you if you don't play hard enough. It just gets old for me. Not so much I'm worried about me. I'm not going to chase that, the perception of all the things that they think happened. I'm worried about the kid because I thought the kid got put under a microscope that he doesn't belong because he competes hard and he's a good kid and he's an interesting kid. And I can't wait to continue to work with him. But he got put into, he put himself in a bad spot. He paid the price. I just don't like how it was prolonged out there on they made a judgment on his play and especially his effort. That's unfair to him. And that's what I was trying to clear up the other day.
All right, let's go back to that third period. Do you think it's one of the best periods you've played as a team all year?
Yeah, we played better away from the puck. We're still not generating enough, Bobby. We're not. And we're in a state of flux offensively here. Our center ice position is kind of blown up again in some of the Mikko retires. Luke was traded. We're trying to get Jack in there. I felt really comfortable with Tex for a while, but I thought it just ended up mounting up and it really affect his game. So we're changing things around there, and it's probably going to be like that most of the year because we're just so young and inexperienced in that position. That affects us a little bit, but the step we made in the right direction offensively, I think, is defensively. I think we played better in our zone defensively and were able to get out of there quicker. We held a pretty good team to, I think, 14 or 15 scoring chances throughout the game. If we continue to work at that part of the game and come out cleaner, I think it'll help us offensively. But we've got to do A before B because we've been way too loose and way too scattered defensively before we can get going offensively.
Yeah, you mentioned that center position. It was only a month and a half ago. I was asking you how happy you were that seemed solidified for the first time, maybe since you've been here. And now it's, as you said, it's kind of up in the air again. Is Max Domi get to go back to the middle yet, or are you going to keep him on the wing?
I'm going to keep him on wing. I want to keep him on wing. I think it's going to help him. The guy that could go back to center is Tex. I'm going to use Jens there right now. Jens, I'm hoping Stens, who deserves a chance, is going to make a go of it here. He has played some good hockey for us. So you got Jack, Stens, Nasher, and Jens as our four centers right now. So we'll see where it goes. And but we played a good period. It kind of rallied. All the what people call drama. It's kind of just business as usual for us as far as some of the stuff would happen with Patty and all the stuff that has gone on around us. But if you do it right, and that's what I really appreciate about the kid, is he understood. We aired it out. We got it straightened out. That's really good as far as getting to where we want to be. And that's my biggest thing for us as coaches. We've got to get tighter as a group here. And those things help. And so all in all, in a roundabout way, it was probably a good thing. We went through that process, and we'll do it again. Somewhere along the way, it's going to happen again, and we'll try to handle it the right way.
You mentioned Kevin Stenlund, and you and I talked about him a couple of games ago, just how he's on the ice. He makes things happen. I mean, heck, he gets an assist the other day when Scott Harrington takes a shot that's going to go 4 feet wide until it hits a guy in the back and it winds up in the net. So, things are going your way when that happens. Yeah. But for Kevin Stenlund, look, you saw him 2 years ago briefly. Last year, you saw him for a good portion of the year because of the injuries. Sometimes in the game, you get that opportunity, like that chance where let's see what you're made of. And I don't want to say you're going to make it or you're not, but you have a chance to be a really big key player, or you're going to be relegated to maybe less time. Is this that chance for Kevin Stenlund? Is this where he's going to get that opportunity?
Yeah. And I don't want to put too much pressure on him because he hasn't played a lot of hockey for us. And for 15 games, he really hadn't played, or however many games, because he's, relegated. He's hurt a little bit, and he's on the taxi squad. And this is a good opportunity for him. It's not going to be on one night, but we're in flux in the middle of the ice, and every time we seem to use him and get him a little bit more ice time, he's a big body that protects the puck well, and he ends up coming through, and he helps us on the power play. He's a good power play guy, not only with his shot, but he's good at holding on to pucks and settling things down on a power play. So, this is a great opportunity for him, but I'm not going to overemphasize, get it done right now in 2 games or you're done. We're going to let's just see where it goes.
Here's what I think the story should be on players if it comes to you. Not Patrick Laine. It should be, how come 2 games ago Dean Kukin was good enough to play on the top pair with Seth Jones and today he's out?
Yeah, it is. And I told Kooks, I talked to Kooks in front of the team. I thought he played some really good hockey, but it has been a real struggle for him, and not just 1 or 2 plays. It's been a struggle. So he's going to step back, especially at that position. I think sometimes it's good to step back and watch. We're going to look at other guys. Peeker's going to come in here. Oh, Peeker hasn't played a lot of games. He hasn't played. I don't think he's played any. He hasn't played any games. He's been taxi squad. We got Carly out there too that improved last year in the minors, and he's on our squad on the roster. I get all this roster taxi squad in Cleveland all mixed up sometimes, but they're going to get a chance. And so we wanted to put a right-hand shot in there. It gives Kooks a chance to maybe regroup. He'll get back in, and because him and Del Z have probably been our most consistent pair. Del Z has kind of been up and down a little bit here too. So this is all part of it when you haven't totally locked in a position, and that's what we'll go about it.
How are you going to start with the pairs tonight? Have you guys found something that you feel works, especially with Werenski out yet?
No. We had a discussion before our 11 o'clock meeting. We're going to talk about it again tonight. We haven't locked in exactly what we want to do. I want to take a look at their lineup, see if they overload a line or they balance their lines, and we'll make decisions then.
You talked about, Del Zotto, amongst others, going up and down. You guys played a lot of games in a short period of time, but you come into this game after having 2 days off. That's a big break in this schedule, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, it gave us a good chance to deal with some of the stuff that was surrounding us, and had a really good practice yesterday. Had a good meeting this morning. We didn't go to the building this morning. It's lousy weather. It takes too long to get to the stadium and back. So I had a good meeting, and I hope we have some energy. This Chicago team's playing very well. They've got some people back. That DeBrincat is a really good spark plug for them. He's back. I watched Chicago play against us the last time. They had a number of COVID protocols, injuries, and they played like we played last year. They just played hard, and they played hard. And I give the coaching staff a lot of credit. It's a good team, and we got our hands full tonight here in Chicago.
You also get Elvis back today. He comes off the injured reserve. I know Korpisalo is going to start tonight, but are you hoping that you can just get right back into that rotation you were in?
Yeah, we'll see. Elvis will back up tonight, and we'll see how it goes as far as the rotation. I just got to make sure on his health that he's totally. We got to get him a game. If it takes him a little bit to get going, we'll make decisions there. But I like the rotation. Eventually, somewhere along the way, we may have to make a decision who's playing best at a certain time. When we're climbing, we're going to have to keep on climbing and try to get back in this. And so we'll see. We'll take it. We'll take it a day at a time.
Yeah. One last thing on that, Korpisalo, what has he shown you in this little stretch? And I'm thinking specifically of the Carolina game that you lose, where there's 6 goals that are scored. I know he was frustrated a lot in that game. Just
Crazy.
The fact that how he handled himself and how he bounces back the very next day, actually, in this case, and is able to go out and play. What's that tell you about his maturity level in the last 2 years?
Yeah, remember I crawled all over him. I think it may have been a couple of years ago when he's banging his stick. He broke his stick over the crossbar, and a goalie just can't do that. The goalie is kind of your conscience as far as how you present yourself on the ice, and he's shown a tremendous amount of maturity. I love his resiliency, because that first one, pucks were deflected, and he's had some games with some crazy goals that have gone in against him, and he's just handling himself and gets ready for the next game.
All right, Torts, thank you very much. Good luck. Enjoy Chicago.
Okay, Bobby, be well, man.